After 20 doctors failed, a poor girl discovered the hidden truth that changed everything forever. Mia sat on the creaky porch of her dilapidated farmhouse, clutching a weathered notebook filled with scribbled hopes and dreams. The sun dipped low, casting a golden glow over her small town. It was the kind of beauty that almost made her forget the gnawing pain that had plagued her for years. 20 doctors had failed her, leaving only confusion and despair in their wake. Her mother, a relentless waitress at the diner down the road, wore the weariness of the world on her shoulders, fighting tooth and nail to keep food on their ragged table. Each day, Mia felt the weight of societal prejudice, how people's eyes lingered too long on her faded clothes and tired demeanor. They saw only a poor girl, lost and broken, not understanding the strength buried beneath her frail exterior. But inside her heart, a spark began to flicker, igniting a relentless determination to battle her sickness and their circumstances. That fateful morning, an unexpected visit from Ruth, an elderly neighbor, changed everything. Ruth, with her silver hair and gentle smile, had spent decades as a nurse. "Mia," she said, her voice warm like a hug, "sometimes the answers are found not in a sterile doctor's office but in places that encourage healing from within." Mia listened, captivated by Ruth's stories of her own struggles, battles with illness and prejudice, and yet resilience shone like a beacon in her eyes. The way Ruth spoke of holistic treatment stirred something inside Mia, a desire to seek out alternatives, to claw her way up from the depths of despair. Fueled by newfound hope, Mia reached out to practitioners who believed in the power of nature and self-care. She poured her small savings into herbal remedies and alternative therapies, but her choices drew scornful whispers from townsfolk. "Why waste money on nonsense? Don't they know they can't afford that?" These remarks sank deep into her heart, creating a rift between her and her mother, who feared their already precarious finances. "Mom, please trust me," Mia pleaded one evening, the tears momentarily blurring her vision. "I have to try." But her mother shook her head, the worry etched into her brow. As the tension built, Mia felt an aching isolation, the weight of whispered judgments crashing over her like a storm. Yet, Ruth's steadfast support began to illuminate her path, reminding her that resilience was born from adversity. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, and small victories began to mount. Mia felt a little better, more energy pulsing through her veins. With newfound confidence, she challenged the townsfolk's harsh judgment, sharing her journey in community meetings. As she spoke her truth, it sparked something in others, too. They started sharing their stories of hardship, forging connections that had long been buried beneath shame. But just as unity began to blossom, an unexpected storm loomed. A tragic accident involving one of the town's children set off fierce debates, showcasing the prejudices they all held. With her heart racing, Mia confronted the unyielding barriers within her community. Would her quest for validation and healing be met with acceptance or divide them all further? Unsure of where to turn, she stood at a crossroads, teetering between hope and despair, longing for the courage to bridge the divide her struggles had wrought. Mia's heart raced as she stepped into the town hall, the walls echoing the murmur of people gathered to discuss the tragedy. She could feel the weight of their judgment pressing down on her, but she took a deep breath, determined to make her voice heard. Ruth sat in the front row, offering a comforting nod that steeled her resolve. "We all want what's best for our children," Mia began, her voice shaking slightly. "But we can't let fear divide us. We need to come together and support each other, especially in times like this." The audience shifted, some faces softening with understanding, while others hardened, clinging to their preconceived notions. A man stood at the back, his arms crossed. "You think we should all just hold hands and sing? That's not how the world works, Mia. It's not that simple, is it?" Another voice piped up from the crowd. We need to face facts and protect our own. Mia swallowed hard, grappling with the mounting anxiety in her chest. What I'm talking about is strength in community. I know what they say about me and the choices I've made, but I've seen how healing can come from support, not judgment. A ripple of uncertainty spread among the townsfolk. Could they really accept her message? As the meeting continued, Mia watched the faces around her. For some, it was the first time they considered the possibility of change. For others, change felt like a threat. She longed to be seen as more than the poor girl with no answers. Hours passed, and the debate grew more intense. Tensions flared, and harsh words were thrown like daggers. Mia felt the weight of disapproval, not just from the townsfolk but from her mother, who sat pale-faced in the corner. "Why do you keep doing this, Mia?" her mother whispered sharply after the meeting. "You're embarrassing yourself. You're bringing shame on our family." The words pierced through Mia, stoking the embers of doubt in her heart. Desperately, she replied, "I'm trying to help. To build something better for us, for everyone." "That something isn't real, Mia," her mother hissed. "It's just fantasy." Those words haunted Mia as she retreated to the quiet of her room that night. The moonlight spilled through her window, illuminating her notebook. She opened it, scanning the pages filled with her dreams, a life free of illness, filled with beauty, self-care, and strength. But now, those dreams felt fragile, each one a flickering flame in the face of overwhelming darkness, but what she didn't expect was to find a folded piece of paper lying beneath her notebook. It was a letter from Ruth, filled with words of encouragement. "Remember, Mia, you have the power to inspire change. Don't let anyone dim your light." With renewed determination, Mia decided it was time to take action, not just for her but for everyone in town. She envisioned a community wellness gathering, a chance for people to share their stories and heal together, free from judgment. As she made plans, doubts crept in. Would they embrace her vision? Or would the fear of the unknown keep them separate? Just as she started jotting down her ideas, a loud knock echoed through the night, breaking her thoughts. Instinctively, her heart raced again. Who could it be? With a flutter of hope, Mia reached for the door, knowing that whatever lay beyond could change everything once more. Mia opened the door slowly, her heart pounding like a drum. Outside, standing in the soft glow of the porch light, was a figure she recognized instantly: Ethan, the boy who had once been her closest friend. His eyes were wide, reflecting an urgency that sent a shiver down her spine. "Mia," he said breathlessly, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to follow him. "I need to talk to you." "What is going on?" She stepped aside to let him in, her curiosity piqued. Ethan paced her small room, agitation radiating from him. "I just left the town hall. Things are getting worse. People are scared, and I think they're looking for someone to blame for everything. You know how gossip spreads." Mia nodded, tension knotting in her stomach. "But I thought I did something good today," she stammered, retracing the steps of her earlier conviction. "I wanted to bring everyone together." "With fear comes division," Ethan responded, stopping in front of her desk, cluttered with her wellness gathering notes and doodles. "But there is something else. They're talking about closing the schools." "What?" The word escaped her, a whisper laden with disbelief. "They can't do that. The kids need school." "Exactly. They don't see that. They think it's for their own safety." Ethan rubbed his hands over his face, clearly overwhelmed. "But it's not just about schools. They're planning to blame anyone who even thinks differently, people like you." Mia felt the cold sting of panic. "But I'm just trying to help." Ethan's gaze softened. "I know. And I'm proud of you for that. But maybe we need to act faster. We can't let them take away our community's heart." His words hit her hard. She realized then that it wasn't just her struggles, it was theirs too. She thought about the faces she'd seen in the hall, hoping they could unite over shared stories, rather than be torn apart by fear and rumors. "What should we do?" she asked, her voice steadier now, the adrenaline coursing through her veins sharpening her thoughts. A small smile tugged at Ethan's lips, brightening the dimness of that moment. Let me help you organize the gathering. But we need to get the word out. We need to reach beyond just the people you know. We need to pull in new voices, people who agree with us. Mia felt a rush of hope. You mean like a real event? With a wider invite? Exactly. Ethan exclaimed. We could have it at the park. Everyone in town loves that place. They might come, especially if it's framed as a way to talk about the issues going on. As they brainstormed ideas, a sense of purpose ignited within Mia. The fear of being judged was still there, lurking at the edges, but now it faded a little in the face of something bigger. Together, they sketched out plans, thinking of ways to make the gathering welcoming and comforting. They envisioned laughter and storytelling, a shared meal, and the rise of collective healing. Just then, Mia's phone buzzed on her desk. It was a message from Ruth, more words of encouragement, urging her to stay strong. But mixed in were questions that made Mia's heart race again. What if we fail? Flashed through her mind uninvited. Ethan must have sensed her hesitation. Mia, no matter what happens, we're in this together. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. She looked into his eyes and felt the weight of the world slide slightly from her shoulders. But just as hope began to bloom within her, another thought crashed down like a wave. What if their courage brought backlash instead of unity? Would the people truly come together, or would the fear swallow them whole? There was no way to know, but she had to try. As Mia and Ethan finalized their plans, she couldn't shake the feeling that this endeavor might be the turning point for everyone, and the loud knocks that followed could either be the beginning or the shattering end, as the door to their fragile community opened wider. Mia's heart raced as the knocks reverberated through her small room. Each sound felt like an explosion of uncertainty, causing her mind to spiral with what could be waiting outside. Ethan's expression mirrored her alarm, eyes wide with apprehension. What if it's someone coming to shut us down? He whispered, worry creeping into his voice. She shook her head, trying to dispel the fear swirling in her mind. We're doing something good. This isn't a crime. But even as she said the words, doubt gnawed at her. She swallowed hard, trying to summon courage. The knocking intensified, firm and insistent. Mia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision in her chest. Maybe we should see who it is. Ethan nodded, stepping closer to the door while casting one last glance back at Mia. She couldn't shake the chill of nerves coursing through her, but she stepped beside him, swallowing her fears for the moment. With trembling hands, Mia turned the knob, and the door swung open to reveal Ruth, her warmth a stark contrast to the cold night air. Yet, the worry etched across her face told a different story. Mia. Ethan. Ruth nearly gasped, her voice pitched with urgency. I heard about the gathering. You both are planning something risky. Ruth, please, we're trying to create unity, Mia insisted, her resolve hardening. We need to come together. It's not just us, it's our whole community. I know, but you don't understand what's at stake. Ruth's voice trembled, her eyes darting around as if enemies lurked just beyond the streetlights. People are angry. They might see this as a threat instead of a solution. Isn't that the problem we need to address? Ethan interjected, stepping forward. We can't hide from our fears. We need to face them head-on. There was a tense silence as Ruth weighed their determination against her fears. Finally, she let out a shaky breath. I want to believe in this too, but I worry that this will only make things worse. What if they come for us? What if people don't show up? Mia felt the walls closing in again, her stomach knotted at Ruth's words. But if we don't try, aren't we letting fear win? Ruth hesitated, her resolve crumbling. You're right, but I still think we have to be cautious. The three of them stood there, the reality of their situation hanging heavy in the air. Time felt suspended. Mia's heart beat louder, drowning out the uncertainty. Maybe we need to make it clear that this is a safe space, Mia suggested, her mind racing. We can create guidelines. We can ask people to bring something to share, a story, a dish, anything. This is about healing, not hatred. Ethan's face lit up at her idea. Yes. We can invite everyone, and encourage positivity. Let us make it an event where the focus is on understanding, not division. Ruth hesitated still, but something in her shifted as she looked at their determination. If you both are in, I'll do my part too, she finally said, the softness returning to her voice. But let us be strategic. I'll help handle the messaging. As they began to outline their thoughts, the initial fear started to dissipate. They filled the room with laughter and ideas, the heaviness lifting just a little. Yet, deep down, Mia couldn't shake the unspoken terror that simmered just beneath the surface. What if their best intentions resulted in chaos instead of resolution? The gathering was set for the following weekend, and each day leading up to it was a sprint filled with outreach, planning, and frantic preparation. Mia felt overwhelmed and exhilarated in equal measure. But then, late one night, Mia received a message that made her heart drop. It was from a number she didn't recognize, filled with threats aimed at the gathering. It was clear someone was watching them, and the undertow of violence and fear was stronger than she had hoped. With every keystroke, a new layer of doubt wrapped around her heart. Would they really be able to stand together? As the moon hung heavily in the sky, casting shadows that danced across her walls, Mia couldn't find the words to quell the anxiety swirling within. Would she be brave enough to fight back against the fear? The answer was closer than she realized. Mia tossed and turned in her bed, the soft glow of the moonlight slicing through the curtains. Sleep seemed like a distant wish, chased away by the heavy dread that tightened her chest. The threat from the anonymous message replayed in her mind like a relentless nightmare. Could it really come to violence? Each creak of the house made her heart skip. She pulled her blanket tighter around her, trying to shield herself from the chill of uncertainty that felt more oppressive than the evening air. At the crack of dawn, she couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. She needed to act, to plan. Sitting up, she grabbed her phone and resolved to reach out to Ruth and Ethan. The gathering had to go forward, it was the only way to prove that unity could conquer fear. Morning. Ethan greeted her with a nervous smile when she arrived at their meeting spot, a local cafe that buzzed with chatter and steaming coffee. He wore his usual casual shirt, but today, it seemed like he wore his worry like a second skin. Hey, we need to discuss the message. Ethan's smile faded, and the tension in his shoulders was unmistakable. I got one too. Same number. His voice dropped to a whisper, though the din of the cafe didn't seem to reach them. Mia's heart sank. Their fears were shared, and that made the threat feel more real. Well, we can't let this stop us. She took a bold breath. Maybe we should find others to help us. People who believe in what we're doing. Ruth arrived moments later, rubbing her eyes as if trying to wake up from a bad dream. I couldn't sleep either, she admitted, and her weary tone mirrored Mia and Ethan's collective anxiety. Sounds like we're all on the same page, Ethan replied. What do we do now? Mia's eyes brightened. We can rally our friends. The more people who come together, the stronger we'll be. We need to ignite hope, not fear. And if anyone tries to intimidate us, she paused, letting the weight of her words sink in, if anyone tries to threaten our resolve, we stand together. We have to show that we won't back down. Ruth bit her lip, considering. It's bold, but it might just work. Banding together could send a message, a powerful one. The three of them spent the next hours reviewing their plans, determined to spread the word. They crafted flyers with positive messages, encouraging others to join the gathering not out of fear, but out of hope. One shared dish, one story, one heart at a time, they painted their vision as a tapestry of unity. But as the day drew to an end and Mia headed home, a nagging sense of unease washed over her again. What if they weren't ready for this? What if she was putting everyone at risk? Her phone buzzed again that night, and her heart raced at the sight of the unfamiliar number. "Don't come to the gathering. You won't like the outcome." Panic clawed at her throat. The threats weren't just empty words. They felt ominous and real, slipping under her skin, whispering that danger was closer than she thought. Mia breathed heavily. What are we getting ourselves into? They were fighting fire with fire, but what if the flames burned them instead? In that moment of doubt, she realized that the real challenge wasn't just external, it was within. Could she keep the light of hope alight, even when the shadows loomed large? With determination, she set her phone down, her fingers curling into fists. She wouldn't give in to fear, she would become the beacon others needed. But as she steeled herself, a guard dog barked outside her window, echoing the threat she felt in her bones. A video notification popped up. Someone had posted a disturbing message online, targeting her and her friends specifically. Mia's breath caught in her throat. How deep did the danger run? The gathering was approaching, and it wasn't just their hope at stake anymore, it was their safety too. Feeling both anxious and brave, she knew one thing was clear: they had to prepare for anything. Would they remain united under the growing weight of threats, or would the shadows divide them? Mia had no idea that the answers lay in the heart of the gathering itself. The next day felt heavy with the weight of impending doom. Mia woke up early, the sun barely grazing the horizon, its soft light contrasting the turmoil in her heart. She buried her head in her hands, trying to quell the rising tide of anxiety. Plans fluttered through her mind like moths, but each one felt fragile, ready to burn in the flame of fear. She took a deep breath and made her way to Ethan's house, the one place she felt slightly less alone in this brewing storm. Ethan was already pacing in his living room, a slip of paper clenched in his fist. "I just can't shake this feeling, Mia. What if they actually do something?" His eyes darted toward the closest window. "What if they show up just to scare us?" In that moment, uncertainty hung between them like a taut string. "We can't back down," Mia replied, forcing her voice to remain steady. "If we share our stories, our hopes, it might drown out their threats." "It has to." Ruth burst through the door, panting slightly. "I just talked to a few friends. They're in. We can do this." But even her enthusiasm felt like a thin veil over the fear etched on her face. Mia's heart surged for a moment, feeling the flicker of hope reigniting. "That's amazing. Let us keep it going. The more voices, the stronger we'll be." The three of them worked fervently, a mix of laughter and tension threading through their planning. With each passing hour, they made more flyers and reached out to old friends and distant acquaintances. But as night fell, the shadows began to stretch, mirroring the looming threats. Later that evening, as they finalized their preparations, Ruth's phone buzzed furiously. She frowned as she read the messages piling up, her face paling every second. "Guys, people are sharing that video more. They're saying some pretty nasty stuff about us. They're calling for a counter-event." Mia's stomach twisted. She looked at Ethan, who now held an expression of marked concern. "They're trying to scare us into backing down. But we're not that easy to intimidate, right?" Ruth nodded slowly, though her voice trembled. "It's just, what if this gets out of hand? What if something happens to us?" The fear in her eyes was raw and palpable. In that instant, Mia felt the weight of their decision crashing down on her, a suffocating pressure that pushed against her heart. "If we let fear win, we lose more than just this gathering. We lose everything we believe in." Ethan took a breath, steadying himself as he met Mia's gaze. "You're right. But we need to be smart. We can't let ourselves be cornered. We need a backup plan, just in case." They spent the rest of the night forging a defense, reaching out to allies, talking about potential safe spots, and sharing numbers with one another. But even as they strategized, the ticking clock reminded them of the danger lurking just beyond the horizon. Mia lay in bed that night, the same moonlight that had mourned her sleeplessness before now stood as a guardian watching over her. But when her phone buzzed yet again, it brought a fresh wave of dread. Stay away from the gathering. You won't leave unscathed. She stared at the message, fear wrenching her heart tighter than it had been before. It felt like the world was collapsing. But in that moment of overwhelming despair, a flicker of determination ignited within her. She wouldn't let the darkness consume her. Gathering strength, she texted Ruth and Ethan, their connection like a lifeline. "We can do this, together," she typed, her thumb shaking as she hit send. But as sleep finally came to claim her, she couldn't shake the thought how many more threats would come before morning. And would their unity be enough to withstand the storm brewing just outside their doors? Dawn broke with a tense stillness, the world outside Mia's window seemingly unaware of the storm brewing within her. She sat up in bed, her heart racing as the message from the night lingered in her mind. The oppressive silence felt like a prelude to chaos. Yet, determination pulsed through her veins. She was ready to fight back against the fear that threatened to swallow her. Mia dressed quickly, her fingers fumbling with her clothes, still half-dazed from lack of sleep. Each piece felt like armor, preparing her for the battle ahead. The sun cast a warm glow, illuminating the path towards Ethan's house. She could feel the weight of her purpose anchoring her feet to the ground. She needed to be strong for them. Ethan was already waiting, anxiety radiating off him like heat from a flame. "Did you sleep?" he asked, worry wrinkling his brow. "A little," Mia replied, forcing a smile. "We'll get through this." Ruth arrived just moments later, her eyes red-rimmed from a restless night. "I can't shake this feeling. What if they show up? What if?" Her voice trailed off, choked with fear. "Instead of thinking about what might happen, let us focus on what we can control," Mia urged, each word a lifeline. "We need to stick to our plan and show them that we won't be intimidated." The three of them huddled together, reviewing their strategy. They tweaked flyers, ensuring their voices echoed loud enough to drown out the negative. Encouragement bounced between them, fueling their resolve even as shadows of doubt loomed. As they worked, Mia looked around Ethan's living room, a sanctuary that felt fortified with their collective spirit. She could hear their laughter, feel their passion, and it was like warm sunlight cutting through the dark clouds of uncertainty. "Okay, it's time," Ruth finally said, her voice firm. "We need to get moving. People are waiting for us." Mia felt a rush of adrenaline as they stepped outside. The air was charged, a mixture of fear and excitement. When they arrived at the park, the energy in the crowd felt electric. Though anxious whispers floated on the wind, most faces were determined, gathering like storm clouds. But as the time approached for their gathering to officially start, Mia spotted a group across the park. The opposition stood there, glaring and positioning themselves as if preparing for battle. Her chest tightened, fear seeping into her bones. "What now?" Ethan whispered, his voice tight. "Stay together, stay strong," Mia murmured, rallying her spirits. "We can't let them drown out our message." The crowd started to swell, and a palpable tension filled the air, thick enough to cut. Mia could see her allies forming a barrier against the growing shadows. As the first chants rang out from her side, she felt an overwhelming urge to grab the megaphone. "Friends!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. "This gathering isn't just ours. It's for anyone who has ever felt silenced." The crowd erupted in a chorus of agreement, their voices blending into one. But the opposing group responded with jeers and taunts, the air vibrating with hostility. Mia felt the heat of the moment wrapping around her like a cloak, but she stood firm. This was about more than just fighting back, it was about standing up for what was right. Then she saw the glint of something in the distance. A camera, focused on them. The message was clear, they were being watched. It sent a shiver down her spine, and she could sense the fear ripple through the crowd. "Keep going," she shouted, her heart pounding with the intensity of the moment. "We're stronger together. Don't let them steal our voices." But as the shouts erupted again, the camera zoomed in closer, and suddenly a figure broke through the crowd, barreling forward. Mia's stomach dropped. Who was it? What would happen next? She breathed deeply, trying to steady herself. Might they be here to support them, or to instigate more conflict? The uncertainty clung to her like fog, thick and impenetrable. In that moment, she grasped the megaphone tighter, her decision made. Whatever happened next, she would face it head-on. And there was no turning back now. The figure approached with determination, and Mia squinted to see who it was. As the crowd parted, revealing the newcomer, relief washed over her. It was Sarah, her longtime friend and ally in their cause. But there was something different in Sarah's eyes, an urgency, almost desperation. "Mia!" Sarah called out, weaving through the throngs of people. "I just got here. Have you seen the live stream?" "What do you mean?" Mia asked, her heart racing again. The implications hung heavy in the air. Ethan shot her a worried glance. "They're broadcasting this to a wider audience. There are people tuning in, and it's not just the locals. It's going national. They're quoting us, but they're also twisting our message." Sarah's eyes darted towards the opposing group, who had begun to film their own footage, smirking and whispering amongst themselves. "What does that mean for us?" Ruth interjected, anxiety creeping into her voice. "It means we need to take control of the narrative." Sarah replied, urgency lacing her words. "If we don't push back against their lies, we could lose everything." Mia's heart hammered in her chest. The camera's gaze was sharp, and she could almost feel it boring into them, recording every pause, every stutter. Would they frame her words in the way they wanted? Could she trust herself to rise to the occasion? As the chants from their supporters faded into the background, Mia took a deep breath. "We need to portray the truth," she said, her voice gaining strength. "If they want a show, we'll give them one. Let us amplify our message. Let us share our stories." Sarah nodded, her expression matching Mia's newfound resolve. "I'll handle social media. I can get the word out while everyone else rallies together around the message. We need to highlight the real struggle people are facing." Mia swallowed hard. She was not just fighting uncertainty within, she was about to expose every unfiltered truth for the world to see. Standing firm, she raised the megaphone once more, adrenaline flowing through her. "Listen up," she shouted, bringing focus back to the crowd. "I want everyone to share their stories. Let us show them the truth. We need our voices to be heard above the noise." As faces turned toward her, a shift occurred in the crowd. One by one, people began to step forward, sharing their experiences. A woman with teary eyes spoke about feeling marginalized in her community. A young man described the pride stripped away from him in school. Their voices, once shadows of fear, now echoed with clarity and power. Mia's heart swelled as she realized each story wove a thread in a larger narrative, one that no camera could distort, no opposition could silence. The crowd grew bolder. They chanted louder, stronger, their unity palpable. Then, in the height of the moment, the opposing group broke through, pushing, shouting, determined to drown out the voices they feared. Mia's pulse raced, caught between fear for her friends and the collective strength of their shared truth. "Stay united!" she yelled, trying to steer twice as many voices against the tide. "Do not give in. They want you to feel overwhelmed. But you are not alone." Power surged within her. She felt each heartbeat of the crowd, each pulse catching fire, empowering her to continue. But just as she thought they had gained traction, the confrontation escalated. A figure from the opposing group charged forward, thrusting their shouting voice toward her, seeking to break through the solidarity. "Do you really think sharing your pain will change anything? Who do you think you are?" Mia steadied herself, shaking the unease from her core. Was this truly about her? Or was it about something greater? In that instant, she realized this was more than a condemnation, it was a challenge. Who we are. We're fighters. We are strong. And we will not be silenced. Her voice rang out, ringing with conviction, but as the two factions faced off, she wondered, what would it take for their message to finally break through? Would they stand firm in this swell of chaos, or would they fracture under it? The air grew thick. Tension rising like a storm ready to break. What would happen next? The chaos intensified. The opposing group's shouts grew louder, the air electric with hostility. Mia stood there, heart pounding, her spirit roiling between fear and determination. She could feel the weight of every person surrounding her, all eyes fixed on the showdown. The figure who challenged her was tall, brimming with arrogance. You think shouting will change hearts? You're wasting your breath. They shouted, their voice slicing through the noise like a blade. Mia clenched her fists around the megaphone, steadying herself against the urge to retreat. It's not just noise. She yelled back, infusing her words with the fervor she felt inside. It's hope. It's connection. We're fighting for what's right. A flicker of doubt crossed her mind, but she pushed it aside. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about everyone who felt unheard. Stories poured forth from the crowd like a flood, each one bolstering Mia's resolve. She could see their faces light up as they found strength in shared vulnerability, their determination igniting a fire aflame ready to challenge the darkness. From her side, Sarah moved swiftly, tapping into her phone, fingers flying across the screen. I'm going live. She called out, her words like a magic spell, drawing in onlookers from near and far. We're not backing down. Mia watched in awe as the small screen buzzed with comments, people tuning in from across the nation. The collective heartbeat of their movement surged, a pulse of change that couldn't be stifled by screams or derision. With newfound energy, Mia spoke again, her voice a beacon. This is our moment. It's more than just a protest, it's a call to everyone who has ever felt small or sidelined. We stand united. Here's our truth. Just then, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Ethan, steps firm and resolute, joined her at the front. Together we're unstoppable. He shouted, his voice filling the air with a sense of purpose. The crowd erupted with cheers, as if his words were a magic incantation fortifying their spirits, but Mia noticed the opposing group inching forward, faces contorted with fierce intent. The atmosphere thickened, not just with tension, but a potential clash brewing. Her heart raced, not just with fear but with adrenaline that spurred her into action. Keep sharing your stories. She called out, rallying the crowd. Let them hear us. Let the world hear how their silence has hurt us. We are not just statistic, we are people with hopes, dreams, and fights worth fighting. Each echoing voice seemed to shatter the air around them, a symphony of determination rising in defiance. And then, like a wave breaking against rocky shores, the opposing group surged forward, their faces twisted in anger. Mia! Sarah shouted, alarmed. Mia glanced toward Sarah, then back at Ethan, both appearing strained but steadfast. We hold the line. She yelled with fierce conviction. But as fists flew and chaos threatened to spiral, Mia's heart plummeted. Could they withstand the tide? Would the truth spoken in vulnerability be enough to push back the storm? Then, just as she thought they were outnumbered, a chorus of voices behind her began chanting. We won't back down. We won't be silenced. Mia's spirit soared again. Momentum was shifting, transforming despair into hope. But in that moment of triumph, doubt flickered within her. What if they were still not heard? What if this raucous gathering yielded nothing but division? A sense of urgency hit her, igniting a spark of clarity. We need to reach out beyond this crowd, she murmured to Ethan. This fight can't end here. What would it take to push their truth into the hearts of those who stood against them? As she contemplated the path ahead, an uncertainty crept in, whispering questions that felt crucial, almost suffocating. Will we make a real difference? She wondered silently, her heart racing with anxiety. As the chaos surged around Mia, she grasped the megaphone tighter, a beacon in the storm of voices. The opposing group pressed forward, their angry shouts mingling with the determined chants of her supporters. For every shout of defiance, a dissonant voice sought to drown it out, yet, all around her, she sensed a change. This was a moment of truth, their gathering resonating with the beat of collective hope. Just as she was about to amplify her message again, a familiar face emerged through the fray. It was her mother. She stood at the edge of the crowd, her face etched with concern but softened by understanding. The weight of years spent in doubt began to lift ever so slightly. "Mia," her mother shouted, pushing her way toward her. "I'm here. I just saw the live stream." Mia's heart surged. She fought back tears of joy, not just for herself but for the bond they had once shared and the bridge they could rebuild together. "Mom, we're fighting for unity. For all of us." With a nod, her mother stepped closer, catching on to the passion pulsating through the throng. Mia felt something shift in the air. Their connection was an anchor amidst the raging waters. "Listen." Her mother called out, her voice carrying authority, surprising Mia. "We grew up here. We've faced hardship together. This isn't about division, it's about finding strength in our vulnerability." Faces turned, the momentum began to shift. Encouraged by her mother's unexpected courage, Mia stepped closer to her. "This is our quilt of stories woven tight. Together we're stronger than fear." The crowd erupted once more, a tsunami of shared strength washing over the oppositional tide. Then, a voice broke through. "See? They're trying to pit us against each other." The man leading the opposition stepped forward, all bravado, eyes narrowed. "What do you really want? Validation for your failed efforts?" Mia's stomach twisted, but she simply pointed her chin higher. "We want to be heard. We want to change the narrative. No one here is a failure." The crowd echoed her insistence. "No one here is a failure." In that instant, what she feared could splinter them began to unify her world. Each shared story, each act of defiance, stitched tighter the fabric of their community. They stood together, arm in arm, every hardship shared, seeding resilience where fear had reigned. Mia glanced at the rising sun, casting rays of gold across their gathering, holding her breath as her heart raced in tandem with the pulse of hope. Each voice, every flickering flame, sparked a fierce fire of change, an unyielding resolve to push back against isolation. And then it happened. A chant swelled from the back, a familiar voice rising through the crowd. "What do we want?" It was Ethan, igniting the spark again. "Unity." The crowd responded, matching his fervor. "When do we want it?" "Now." As each chant echoed, it warmed Mia from within, a lock on her insecurities breaking loose. The fear that had weighed down their community was shaking, crackling like dry leaves underfoot, but just as hope began to wrap its arms around her, a surge of aggression crashed from the opposing side. Tensions flared as words morphed into shouts, threats mixed with passion. "Back down. You're delusional. The world doesn't want your weak pleas." Mia's heart sank for a moment, binding ties began to fray. But then she recalled Ruth's message, the encouragement that had become her armor. In that profound silence, she lifted the megaphone one last time. "This is our moment of real power. We refuse to be divided. We will connect through our stories, our pain, our triumphs. We shall show them how real strength breathes in vulnerability." One by one, stories poured forth once again as community voices flooded together, weaving a new tapestry of understanding. They talked of love, anger, hope, frayed edges stitched ever tighter. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from some members of the opposition, followed by hushed whispers, surprised at the depth they were witnessing in the crowd. And then it struck like lightning. "They just want to heal." Someone shouted from the opposition. Remember that feeling? From that momentatively fragile yet fiery atmosphere came a new realization that crashed through the air. The thought that maybe the strength they all had was intertwined, despite differences, was echoing loud and clear. Mia turned to her mother and Ethan. They nodded in agreement. This journey could change them, not only as individuals fighting their fears, but also as a united community, giving light to their shadows. As songs of hope began to rise amidst the throng, Mia realized something profound. She had fought her battles, and together, they could weather storms. They were a storm of their own, ready to reshape tomorrow. They vowed not just to share their stories but to build theirs greater than any anecdote of fear. They would leave a legacy of unity and resilience. And with that, under the sprawling sky, they rallied once more. The battle may have felt daunting, but they would face it, together. Mia couldn't help but smile, feeling hope break through like dawn. I will be heard. We will be heard. And amidst the laughter and stories, she felt the echoes of their fears transform into a lingering melody that would carry into the future, a song of unwavering resilience that would rise above any darkness. It was time for all hands to triumph. The flicker of their shared light ignited hope across their community. And they wouldn't rest until it blazed bright throughout every corner. With each heartbeat, Mia made a promise: this was just the beginning. Now's the time for you to act, too. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with passion and hope. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm that thrives on your support. Comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of lifting each other up and supporting this channel. Act now. Your voice matters.